Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu releasing a statement today repeating his claims that Israel will not end the war until Hamas is destroyed. It comes one day after President Biden outlined a three-phase plan that would serve as a roadmap to an enduring ceasefire and release of all hostages. Pressure is growing, though, here in the U.S. as well as Israel to end the war as the humanitarian crisis worsens and families of hostages demand the return of their loved ones. To discuss this further, let's bring in retired Major General Bob Dees. General, thanks so much for joining us.
Afternoon.
I want to get your take on the breakdown of this plan that was announced by President Biden. Phase 1 includes a 6-week ceasefire, a release of a number of hostages. Phase 2 would be a permanent ceasefire and the release of all living hostages, and Israeli forces would then withdraw from Gaza. Phase 3 then is a reconstruction plan for Gaza. What do you think about this plan, and do you think there is a world where both sides accept this?
Well, I think the fundamental phases of the plan are understood by both sides and even accepted by both sides. But the fundamental premise seems to be a disconnect. Israel has said they will not, in fact, agree to this plan or execute this plan until Hamas is defeated, and then, as Netanyahu said today, until the hostages are returned. President Biden, conversely, on TV yesterday, said we just have to work out the final details and that the two parties agree. I think that's fundamentally flawed. The two parties don't agree because they don't agree on when it should start, the conditions for starting it, and they're radically different. One is defeat of Hamas. The other one is an immediate ceasefire.
Exactly. And, you mentioned President Biden talking about this. He addressed possible critics of this deal yesterday. Let's play that, and then we'll chat about it on the other side.
At this point, Hamas no longer is capable of carrying out another October 7th, which is one of Israel's main objectives in this war, and quite frankly, a righteous one. I know there are those in Israel who will not agree with this plan and will call for the war to continue indefinitely. Some are even in the government coalition.
So what would you say to someone in Israel, as the president mentioned, who might not agree with this deal, say maybe it doesn't go far enough?
Well, it's nice to hear those nice words from the president, but again, respectfully, it's based on some false premises. One is that the Hamas is no longer a threat to Israel. Try telling the people in Israel that, and the people that were massacred on October 7th. So that's a challenge. Hamas remains a threat. It does not take many Hamas fighters, highly trained terrorist operators, to again leverage the Palestinian victims of this conflict to continue their fight with Israel, both direct and indirect, empowered by Iran. So that's first flawed premise. The second flawed premise, I think the president is being disingenuous when he suggests that people in Israel want a war without end. I don't know of anybody in Israel that has espoused that. And secondly, I haven't heard anybody in Israel that says they don't want their hostages back. It's a matter of process. It's a matter of policy by the Israelis to prosecute this conflict as the intelligence and as the imperatives on the battlefield demand.
And of course, we have two sides who, as you mentioned, aren't necessarily really ever going to be in agreement here. Israel on one side, though, is saying they want their hostages freed, while there is a humanitarian crisis that's growing over in Gaza. What is the answer here? And does this plan, this three-phase plan, do enough to address those concerns?
Well, prayerfully, we have a number of hostages still alive. We believe that to be true. And prayerfully, we can do some negotiation. But President Biden is essentially asking the Israeli people and the world order to come down hard on Israel and condemn their prosecution of this conflict. I would offer that the people that initiated this and that perpetuate this are not Israel, but are the Hamas fighters.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.